Welcome to another episode of War Machines. We are currently 2/3 of the way through the opening round of the tournament this season. We have already seen so many great and destructive fights so far this season, and more excitement will be on the way. We will introduce several more newcomers to War Machines tonight, along with welcome back several returners who all look to be crowned a champion. Let's now see who is on tonight's fight card. Leading off tonight, we have two elite horizontal spinners, as we will see Bloodsport take on Ice Wave. Up second, we see the debut of Can Opener, J-Spec and their Grabber, who will take on the Thwackbot of Stinger. Up third, we have the vertical spinners of Heavy Metal Noise, who will take on the Knife of Overkill. Up fourth, we have the full body spinner of Typhoon 2, who will take on the flipper of Wheelie Big Cheese. Next, we have the front hinged flipper of Firestorm, who will take on the overhead saw of That Darn Dustpan. Our sixth fight of the night that you will not want to miss features the Thwackbot of Gabriel, who will take on the Wedge of Tornado. Our first highlight fight of the night features Apollyon and their Wedge, who will take on the vertical spinners of Dreadnought. Our second highlight fight features the overhead saw of Maximum Ogre Drive, who will take on the Clusterbot of Rust in Pieces. Next, we'll see the Grabber of Claws 2, who will take on the vertical spinner of Warhawk. Following that, we have Micro, I'm not going to try to pronounce that first part, and their overhead saw, who will take on the flipper of Richie. Then after that, we have the flipper of Hysteria 2, who will take on the drum spinner of Dizzy Evo. Our next fight of the night features the flipper of Eric and the flipper of Toon Raider. Following that, we have the flipper of TR2, who is up against one of the best looking designs in this competition, Great Pumpkin, and their Wedge plus Flamethrower. Finally, we have the drum spinner of Salad Tosser, who will take on the flipper of Tilly EWE3. Finally, we have our main event, which features two returners who surprised the competition last season. We have the horizontal spinner of Mo, who will take on the flipper of Thermidor 2. We have a great lineup for you tonight, and let's now get to our first fight of the night. For our first fight of the night, we have the Battle of Horizontal Spinners from the Battlebots and Bugglebots class. On one side, we have Bloodsport, who had an early first round exit in their heat last season. They are back with their powerful horizontal spinner. That spinner can cause a lot of damage when that thing gets up to full speed. But of course, their big problem is their own stability. While they do have a self-righting mechanism, it is possible for them to spin out of control, and we could see some uncontrolled movement. On the other side here, we have Ice Wave. Ice Wave getting third place in last season of War Machines. That horizontal spinner, like Bloodsport's, is no joke, as that thing will also cause a lot of damage when it gets up to speed. But of course though, if Ice Wave does get flipped, while it is possible for them to self-right, it's not always possible, and it is a struggle for them. This should be an amazing fight, but before we get to this fight, let's see some highlights from our third place competitor from last season. Ice Wave is back once again with that powerful horizontal spinner, as we saw that thing cause a massive amount of chaos and damage. We saw them use that to power their way through their heat, cause major amounts of damage as said, and just leave their opponents in a pile of parts. When they got to the semifinals, they pulled off one of the biggest upsets, taking out one of the favorites to win the whole thing last season, Bite Force. But then things did not always go in Ice Wave's path, even with that major victory they had. As when they got to the semifinals, their Final Four matchup against Black Dragon, things did not go so hot for them, as Black Dragon used their flipped over issues to their advantage, and Black Dragon ended up being the one to advance. But Ice Wave is back with that powerful horizontal spinner, looking to cause massive amounts of damage and go a few steps further. Let's now get to their opening round face-off. Here we go. Both bots getting their spinners up to full speed here, and weapon on weapon attack here. And another one, and Ice Wave sends Bloodsport flying. I expect we're probably going to see a lot of weapon on weapon exchanges between these two bots here. But so far, Ice Wave seems to be getting the better out of these weapon on weapon exchanges. Is Bloodsport off balance right now? And looks like a piece came off. I think their spinner is losing a bunch of pieces. That would explain why Bloodsport seems to be a little unbalanced here. Yeah, Bloodsport's shaky a little bit. That's not exactly something they want to see here. Not something they want to be facing this early in the fight. We approach the 1 minute mark. Ice Wave seems to be getting the better of a lot of these exchanges so far, so I would give them the lead on points so far. But there are still 2 minutes left in this fight, so that could easily change. Ice Wave coming in. I think they lost one of the teeth on their spinner, possibly, as that thing also looks a little crooked. But now Bloodsport getting sent flying, and they are forced to use their self-right mechanism. They are flipped over here, but they do self-right. But now Ice Wave underneath them. That was a big damage and control moment for Ice Wave there. Big time points for them. Both bots just getting their spinners up to speed, clashing head on here. But right now, Bloodsport just got to get something going here, as I think Ice Wave is benefiting from a lot of these exchanges. Saw another piece go flying. I'm not sure whom that was from. Another big shot from Ice Wave right onto Bloodsport, and another one, and Ice Wave temporarily got underneath Bloodsport. But now Bloodsport off balance once again. Ice Wave taking advantage of that. Less than a minute to go in this one. Right now, I gotta give Bloodsport credit for being able to survive like this, along with keep attacking Ice Wave the way they are. As judges like to see damage done by the primary weapon, they have done some damage, as they have broken off one of the teeth on Ice Wave's spinner. But you gotta think though, Ice Wave has done more damage, taking off more pieces of Bloodsport's spinner, keeping Bloodsport off balance. Ice Wave opens up the Pit of Oblivion here. 20 seconds to go in this fight. Bloodsport is still just so off balance here. And Bloodsport takes a shot from a floor flipper. They need to self-right, but I think Ice Wave just helped them out there. Unless if somebody goes down the pit or their control board falls, looks like this fight is going the full 3 minutes. And this fight is now in the judges' hands. And this may not be an easy one to start off. This fight, the first fight of the night, going straight to the judges after we saw a lot of action here. Lots of weapon on weapon exchanges, but it looked like Ice Wave is getting the better out of a majority of these exchanges. We saw Ice Wave chop off a lot of pieces of Bloodsport's spinner, leaving them with a bunch of balance issues for the rest of the fight. Now, as we saw this area, which is probably the biggest hit of the fight, as it left Bloodsport upside down, and Ice Wave just took advantage of that, managed to get some solid points out of that. Right now, I would say Ice Wave definitely won on damage category, taking off a ton of pieces of Bloodsport's spinner here. Even though Bloodsport did take off a tooth of Ice Wave's spinner, which they should get credit for. So now the judges' votes are in, and it was unanimous. The winner is Ice Wave. I gotta agree with that decision, as Ice Wave seemed to be winning majority of those weapon-on-weapon exchanges. Still, impressive fight out of both bots, and Bloodsport will probably be a major contender for a wild card. Coming up next, we go to the Robot Wars class, where we have Can Opener J-Spec, who will take on Stinger. On the left side, we have Can Opener J-Spec, a grabber bot. That thing has a lot of push power to it, and also, even though you can't see it in the image there, they do have a little scoop up front that's quite low to the ground that should help them out with that. Of course though, they do have those exposed sides, which could be a major issue for them if they are not careful. On the other side, we have Stinger, a black bot. That thing is quite fast, it's quite maneuverable as well. But of course though, they also have an exposed sides problem there, and also they do not have a lot of push power to it, which could be a problem if when they are facing bots with superior push power like Can Opener, for example. But do not underestimate Stinger, as that bot can definitely win fights, and they could definitely cause a lot of damage through that primary weapon. This should be an interesting fight, so now let's get right to it. Here we go, Stinger spinning already, and Can Opener getting in there right from the start. You're scooping up Stinger. Can Opener showing that they have superior push power here, ramming Stinger against the rails. Stinger getting a few jabs in there, but how much damage are they doing? One thing judges like to see is damage done by the primary weapon here. And right now, Can Opener's caught in one of the spike hazards, but now they're free and they take a big hit from Stinger's thwacker. Gotta say, they are, Can Opener, while they have taken a few shots from that thing, they are holding up very well to that weapon on Stinger. Right now, they are just staying all up in Stinger's face, just not giving them an inch here. Lots of control and aggression points being given out to Can Opener based off of their performance so far. Minute into this fight here, we saw Stinger nearly go down the pit. Stinger just trying to get away, start spinning, just get the opportunity to use that primary weapon there. But Can Opener has just been denying that so far. We're approaching the halfway point in this fight. I gotta say, Can Opener has the lead so far, as they have been showing major control here, showing that they are much lower to the ground, they have much superior push power, and they are just not going to give Stinger a chance. Stinger's just got to get away and get some breathing room quickly, and be able to come up with a big attack on Can Opener. Right now, Stinger, there they go, they're spinning, they get a jab in there, but now Can Opener's right in their face again, and they have them up against the rails again. But now Stinger gets free, but both bots go down the pit, but it was very clear that Stinger hit the ground of the pit first, so Can Opener wins by knockout. Stinger. This was probably not what they were hoping to see here, as Stinger, while they were able to spin and get a few jabs in there, Can Opener just went right for them, just kept getting right in their face, just did not let them spin, did not let them use their weapon effectively for a lot of this fight, and showed a lot of control and aggression in there. Very impressive performance out of Can Opener here, as they will definitely be one to watch after this performance, after they just denied Stinger of their weapon use. Stinger will definitely be in the hunt for a possible wild card, as they did get a ton of jabs in there on Can Opener that I bet will be influenced to the selection committee. Our third fight of the night, we go to the DSL class for the first time, where we will have Heavy Metal Noise take on Overkill. On one side, we have Heavy Metal Noise with 2 vertical spinners. Those vertical spinners have a lot of destructive power to it. But of course, they do have those exposed tires, that exposed backside, and even the middle of their front is exposed that they will want to be careful of. They are up against Overkill, an axe bot or a knife, for example, is their weapon. That knife has quite a bit of power to it, and I imagine they might try and go right for the front, go head on, try and go for the front of Heavy Metal Noise, as that might be an excellent strategy for them. While that knife does have a lot of power to it, they do have those exposed tires that I imagine their opponent will be trying to take advantage of. This should be one excellent fight, so now let's get to it. Here we go. Overkill strategy probably being hit them in some exposed area. Heavy Metal Noise on the other hand, try to get those exposed wheels. Overkill, they get a big hit right on the front there, and they have Heavy Metal Noise and they are battering them with that knife. Wow, what an opportunity that was for Overkill. Now they're trying to strike Heavy Metal Noise once again with that axe, but right now Heavy Metal Noise, they gotta get to the tires, but right now those are being denied by Overkill. Now here we go, and Heavy Metal Noise gets sent over the top and takes another shot from that knife. That knife causing a lot of damage already to Heavy Metal Noise, and now they're back on the attack. Is Overkill landing a few more shots? That control board might be in trouble for Heavy Metal Noise, as I see it turned yellow there up at the top right. That is not a good sign here. It sounds like Overkill is doing a ton of damage with that knife. More shots from that axe there. And down goes the control board, and Overkill wins by knockout. Wow, this did not go how I thought it was going to go here, as Overkill waited and got the right opportunities and managed to batter Heavy Metal Noise. Just pulverize them with that knife and cause a significant amount of damage. Heavy Metal Noise tried to get involved with those vertical spinners, but they were just denied by the front of Overkill, and Overkill did a brilliant job protecting those exposed wheels. At this point in the fight was when things started to really get bad for Heavy Metal Noise, as one of these next few shots managed to destroy part of the control board, showing signs of damage to it. And then it was not long after that before Overkill managed to pin them against the rails and managed to finish them off and win this fight by knockout. Fantastic win by Overkill. I look forward to seeing them in the next round. We stay in the DSL class for our next fight, which is a Robot Wars face-off between Typhoon 2 and Wheelie Big Cheese. On the left side, we have Typhoon 2, the Robot Wars Series 7 champion. They have a full body spinner for their weapon, and that spinner is not a joke, as that thing will cause a significant amount of damage when it gets up to full speed, as we saw a lot of that out of them when they came last season. Of course though, one big problem is their own stability, which I imagine their opponent may be trying to take advantage of. On the other side, we have Wheelie Big Cheese, another returner from last season. They have a flipper that has a lot of power to it, so I imagine they could give their opponent some airtime here. But of course, their big issue is those 2 exposed wheels that I imagine Typhoon 2 will be going for. This should be one fantastic fight. I am looking forward to it. So now, let's get right to it. Here comes Wheelie Big Cheese, taking a hit from Typhoon 2, Typhoon 2 getting a few big hits in with that full body spinner. Wheelie Big Cheese has got to be careful about those exposed sides. They get a near flip in there, but there's a flip, a lift by Wheelie Big Cheese, and Typhoon 2 spinning out of control. Wheelie Big Cheese opens up the pit. Looks like Wheelie Big Cheese's strategy is to flip Typhoon over, take advantage of their stability problems, and lead them towards the pit. We saw a big shot from a floor flipper not too long ago, and now Wheelie Big Cheese trying to take advantage of Typhoon 2 just spinning out of control like that. Lots of uncontrolled movement here, and it does not look that good in the hands of the judges if this happens to go the full 3 minutes. Wheelie Big Cheese trying to lead Typhoon 2 towards the pit of oblivion, but struggling to do so. A couple more flips from that flipper on Wheelie Big Cheese. But now Typhoon 2, are they stuck against the rails? Looks like nope. Spinning out, continuing to spin out of control. They are, and taking a few more flips, but now they are back in control here. But now Wheelie Big Cheese underneath them and lands a flip. Taking a hit as Typhoon 2's getting that spinner going. And taking another flip, getting some airtime is Typhoon 2. And Wheelie Big Cheese nearly leads them down the pit of oblivion. And here we go, and down the pit they fall. And Wheelie Big Cheese has won this fight by knockout. Fantastic fight that was. Impressive performance by Wheelie Big Cheese. This point in the fight was when problems started up for Typhoon 2, as they just spun out of control for a majority of the remainder of this fight. And that does not look good for them in the hands of the judges, but this did not go the full 3 minutes, so they won't really be able to really interfere with the result of this one. We saw Typhoon 2 get stabilized, but Wheelie Big Cheese was soon on them once again, landing a few big flips to show the power in that weapon. I'm sure they showed to the rest of their competition what that flipper can do, and they could be a major threat when it comes to the next few rounds. At this point right here, Wheelie Big Cheese simply had to finish them off by leading them towards the pit, which they did, and Typhoon 2 was knocked out. We stay in the DSL class once again for our next fight, which features Firestorm and that darn Dustpan. We have Firestorm, who returns to the arena after a loss in the first round of their heat to Son of Waiachi last season. They have a unique flipper, a front hinge flipper, which we don't see a lot of. That flipper is both powerful and effective, but of course a big concern is those exposed sides that their opponents may try to take advantage of. On the other side, we have that darn Dustpan, a overhead saw bot. Now, as their weapon is, of course, their saw, and they also have a low-to-the-ground scoop up front. This is a very effective weapon combination that could give Firestorm some trouble if they are not careful here. Of course, though, that darn Dustpan, they do struggle to self-right if they get flipped over, and that could be a major problem for them if Firestorm gets that flipper underneath them, and so that way they can use it. This should be one heck of a fight, and let's get right to it. Here we go. Now Firestorm running away from that darn Dustpan. Unusual moves here, but now that darn Dustpan underneath them and chipping away right at the sides of Firestorm. Firestorm going head on, trying to get underneath them, and just avoids that saw there, taking a shot from the front from the floor flipper. There, gotta watch out for those hazards. But now Firestorm on the chase here, landing a flip. They do. That was a successful flip there by Firestorm. And now that darn Dustpan is stuck upside down. Firestorm pushing them towards the pit, but it's not down, but they are now eyeing that pit button. I think they want to finish off Firestorm here. One flip was all it took for them to finish off that darn Dustpan, trying to push them down the pit. That darn Dustpan did not go down easy, but they are down there, and Firestorm wins by KO. Wow. This one was interesting, as it looked like that darn Dustpan was going to take control of this fight quite quickly right into it. They were able to get underneath Sub-Zero several times with that scoop and be able to drop that saw on them and do some damage. Of course, though, we did see the floor flipper get into action, but luckily that did not stop that darn Dustpan from coming after Firestorm once again, but they did get flipped at that crucial moment, and that darn Dustpan could not self-right. We did see them get some more jabs in right on that push with that saw, but it didn't matter because Firestorm is the one that will be moving on. Fantastic fight out of both machines. Finally, we have our 6th fight where we go back to the Robot Wars class. We have Gabriel, one of the most unusual designs in the competition here, who will be taking on Tornado. On one side, we have Gabriel, who is a thwack bot. Now, as they got a sword at their end, they will be hoping to use to strike their opponents. That is a very unique, a very unusual design. And they have 2 very large wheels there that could be a problem for them if they happen to go up against the wrong opponent. And also another possible issue is that it can be relatively difficult to control here. Those could be issues that their opponent might try to take advantage of, who happens to be Tornado. You might be thinking that we saw them in a recent episode, in which you would be right. Unlike the DSL class, Tornado will not be an interchangeable weapon spot in this class, as only the wedge configuration is available to me here. Still though, the wedge is a very effective weapon, giving them very nice ground game, giving them a lot of push power, making them still a major threat. Of course though, they do have those exposed sides, and if they get flipped, they are less effective when upside down, which could be an issue for them if they are not careful. So now I am looking forward to this one, as this should be an exciting fight, so let's get to it. Here we go, Tornado racing right out of the gate here. And now Gabriel trying to land a shot. They land one there. Tornado trying to control this fight through the use of that wedge. Really all they can really do against an unusual design like Gabriel is push them through right on those sides, right on those wheels, try and get some aggression and control points. But now Gabriel not going down easy here, spinning around trying to strike with that sword here, but now Tornado just not making that easy. Gabriel is a difficult bot to control here, but here they go. They land a hit right on Tornado, and landing another shot. It's Gabriel. Gabriel getting some hits in with that sword, and a 3rd one, and a 4th one. Hit after hit being landed by Gabriel here. How much damage are they doing to Tornado? As judges like to see a bunch of damage done, and so far we haven't really seen much damage done there. But of course Tornado hasn't really done that much damage either, but they have shown quite a bit of aggression and control. Another near miss by Gabriel. But now Gabriel striking with that sword again. They hit Tornado again, and again Tornado being battered by that sword on Gabriel, as Gabriel just trying to punish them with that thing, do some overhead damage with that thing. We're a little over halfway into this fight. Gotta say, this has been close so far. It's Gabriel landing some more shots with that thwack there, as it's causing Tornado a lot of trouble here. We are nearing the 1 minute mark here. This has definitely been close so far, as Gabriel landing some more shots here. But Tornado, what's going on there? I don't see movement out of them. Gabriel landing some more shots, giving them a little push from their wheel, but now Tornado's moving again. And now I see smoke coming out of Tornado. That is not a way you want to finish this fight if this happens to go to the judges. Gabriel seems to be doing some damage with that sword of theirs, as Tornado clearly has taken damage in the interior area. 30 seconds to go in this fight. Tornado just hanging on here, dealing with major internal issues here. And now they're just continuing to try to control this fight, get some aggression and control points, just try to stack up on those things. 20 seconds to go in this one. What a fight this has been. This should be like a main event fight here. Gabriel coming in with that sword, striking them again. And this fight appears to be, and this fight will be going to the judges, not appearing to be. This one is in their hands now, and this is not going to be an easy one. We have seen lots of very close judges' decisions. This is an example of one of those decisions here. Tornado, really the only thing they could really do is come at Gabriel from those wheels, push them around, get some control and aggression points. But then Gabriel, it wasn't long before they started just striking Tornado with that sword, doing some damage to the top of Tornado. Tornado appeared to be holding up so well to that punishment until around this point. Less than a minute to go in this fight, a few strikes caused Tornado to start smoking, showing clear damage to the internal areas, which are big signs of damage done. Either way, this should be a close judge's decision and not an easy one for the judges here. Let's hear what they had to say. The votes are in and we have a split decision. Judge Green Square scored the battle in favor of Tornado. Judge Battlebot Nate scored the battle in favor of Gabriel. Judge Porinog scored this battle in favor of the winner, Tornado. Very close fight, as that one could have gone either way, and all three judges had a very close score on their scorecards. Gabriel, definitely I have high hopes that they will be receiving a wild card, but I don't want to assume anything so far, as we have seen a lot of impressive performance out of machines from each class. Coming up next, we have our first highlight fight of the night, which is in the DSL class, which features the Wedge of Apollyon and the vertical spinners of Dreadnought. So to start this fight, Apollyon, despite being the much smaller bot in this fight, they were just giving Dreadnought a lot of trouble in this one, just not allowing them to effectively use those vertical spinners. But this was a big crucial moment, as we saw them land a big shot on Apollyon. Apollyon, not long after that exchange, started smoking there, showing some damage to their internals. Despite all that control and aggression Apollyon was showing in this fight, their control board just couldn't handle the punishment from those spinners, and eventually their control board gave out and Dreadnought won by KO. Next up, we have Maximum Overdrive and their overhead saw returning to the arena against Rust in Pieces, a clusterbot. And right at the beginning of this fight, the Rust in Pieces clusterbot opened up the Pit of Oblivion and were just charging after Maximum Overdrive. Maximum Overdrive was just so confused here, just not sure how to fight these things, as these two bots were just constantly getting underneath Maximum Overdrive, just not giving them a chance to use that saw. And we saw some major control areas, some major aggression areas, and then Maximum Overdrive ended up being the one down the Pit of Oblivion, and the clusterbot advanced. Next up, we have two more returners. We have the Grabber of Claws 2 and the Vertical Spinner of Warhawk. In this one, we saw three major exchanges here. We had this one, and where Warhawk and Claws 2 just grinding away at each other. We saw some piece of Claws 2 come off. This second one where half of the front came off, and then this one where Claws 2 fell down the Pit of Oblivion and Warhawk won by KO. Up fourth, we have Micro and their Saw taking on Richie and their Flipper Bot. This should be an interesting one. But right at the beginning of this fight, we saw Micro just scooping up Richie with that Saw and just dropping that thing on them, constantly causing damage. That was not the last time they were able to scoop up Richie. They were easily able to outmaneuver them, outdrive them, easily get to their side, scoop them up, and then drop that Saw on them. Several times throughout this one, we saw them just stack up the damage points in this one. But when they decided that they were having enough fun in here, they just scooped them up one last time and took them into the Pit of Oblivion and won by knockout. The last highlight fight of the night features Hysteria 2 and Dizzy Evo's Drum Spinner. Here we go. As for this one, Hysteria 2 were able to easily get underneath Dizzy with their lifter and managed to get a few successful flips in there. Including, we did see them send Dizzy flying a bit, and it wasn't long before they were able to pin them in the corner and land a ton of big flips on them. It wasn't long after that before Dizzy Evo managed to provide a killer push and push Dizzy Evo down the pit where Hysteria 2 advanced. Well done to all 5 of those competitors who will advance to the next round. I hope to see them in a televised fight in the next round. The other 5, they could have wild cards coming their way, as some of them did have very impressive performances there. Those fights will be available at the end of the season and the last 3 episodes in case if any of those fights just look that entertaining to you, or if any of them were your favorite competitors. Coming up next, we go to the Robot Wars class where we have a flipper battle coming for you. We have Eric and Toon Raider. We got Eric, who is a very different looking flipper bot compared to Toon Raider, and not just color. They are very low to the ground, and their ground game could give their opponents a lot of trouble there. That flipper does have some power to it as well, but of course, their wheels are very exposed, and that flipper, it might be long and low to the ground, but it's not exactly the widest. On the other side, we have Toon Raider. Same weapon as Eric, but no flipper. That bot is very well armored here. But of course, they do have those exposed sides. I imagine these two are going to be trying to go right at each other, try to outmaneuver the other, try and get to the other side, as this could be an interesting one. And we like those types of fights, so let's get to it. Here we go, it's Toon Raider coming right after Eric and taking a few flips from Eric. Eric seems to be the lower to the ground bot between these two flippers here. And now Toon Raider right at the sides of Eric, struggling to get underneath them with their flipper. Try to use their flipper on them as revenge. So far now, we got a clash head on between these two. It seems to be a real stalemate as of now, as neither bot seems to be able to get that flipper underneath the other. That will definitely be something to watch in this one. But now Spike's getting on the action. Eric gets that flipper underneath them. Spike Trap helps Eric out here, as now Eric just lands a bunch of punishing flips right on Toon Raider. But now Toon Raider, they gotta get something going here, as we are now a minute into this fight, and Eric definitely has the lead on points here between these two bots. Real stalemate here once again, but now Toon Raider underneath them. They misfire that flipper, but there's a flip from Toon Raider. Can they take advantage of that? But Eric self-rights quite easily. And now Toon Raider back on the attack once again. They get another flip in there, and now Eric's up against the arena rails, and another flip, and Eric is out of the arena, and Toon Raider wins by KO. Lots of knockouts tonight, and this one was a fantastic one, like a lot of the ones we've already seen so far. Eric landing a ton of big flips right at the beginning of this fight. Then after that, it was really a stalemate between these two bots, as neither of them could really get anything going. Until this happened, and where the spikes got involved in this thing, one of the many amazing hazards here in this arena, which helped Eric get underneath Tomb Raider once again and land a few more devastating flips. But then it wasn't long after that before the tables turned on this fight, as Tomb Raider managed to get that flipper underneath Eric for the first time and managed to get a few successful flips on them. And around this area in the next clip, right here, was where Tomb Raider managed to finish Eric off. Landed a big flip to pin them right up against the arena rails, and one more flip just to toss them clean out of the arena and win it by KO. Next up, we stay in the Robot Wars class, where we will have TR2 take on Great Pumpkin. On the left side, we have TR2, a flipper bot, as said already. That flipper is very low to the ground. That flipper has a lot of power to it. It's fast, and it is maneuverable. Those are some big advantages for it, but of course, those exposed sides could mean trouble if their opponents get to those. On the other side, we have Great Pumpkin, where at their arsenal, they have a wedge and a flamethrower. That design is interesting. That looks very cool. One of the coolest designs here, and we have a lot of those designs here. Of course, though, they do have those exposed wheels, and as well, if they get flipped over, they cannot self-right. So I imagine that will probably be TR2's goal in this one. I am very much looking forward to seeing both of these bots in action. So let's now get to this interesting battle. Here we go. Here comes TR2. Right on the attack, we saw Great Pumpkin go over the top, and now Great Pumpkin's at the sides of TR2, getting that flamethrower in on the action. But now TR2 gets away, trying to get at them. But now TR2, they're up in the air. Great Pumpkin got underneath them and using that flamethrower on them. Great start for Great Pumpkin so far. We did not expect to see this happen. TR2 kind of up in the air, kind of slanting up in the air. That's not exactly a good thing to do. But now they back up. They're underneath Great Pumpkin. They land a big flip, and Great Pumpkin is upside down. TR2 opens up the pit of Oblivion here. Now they're leading Great Pumpkin towards the pit. Are they going to put them down it? I think so. I think they're eyeing the pit here, and they put Great Pumpkin down the pit, and TR2 wins this fight in a little less than a minute. I gotta say, the beginning of this fight, it looked like Great Pumpkin might have a major shot and might come out on top in this one. They had a fantastic start to this fight, just getting to the sides of TR2, using that wedge and that flamethrower to get some action on TR2, including managed to get underneath them a few times, which I did not expect to see. But then it didn't last that way forever for Great Pumpkin. Is this moment, right after they got free, was a crucial moment. And one flip was all it took for TR2 to get Great Pumpkin over. Flip them over, they could not move upside down. TR2 eyed the pit of Oblivion right after that and managed to push them down the pit of Oblivion. Fantastic KO by TR2, and I look forward to seeing them in the next round. Our second to last fight of the night features the Drum Spinner of Salad Tosser and the Flipper of Tilly EWE 3. On one side we have Salad Tosser, and their weapon is a Drum Spinner, as said before. That Drum Spinner has a lot of power to it, but they are not that low to the ground. They don't have too much push power, and they have those exposed sides, which could be a problem if they are not careful. On the other side, we have Tilly EWE 3 with their Flipper. That Flipper has quite a bit of power to it. but like a lot of the flipper bots we have seen tonight, their primary weakness are those exposed sides. As I imagine since they are up against a spinner bot, that bot will be trying to get to their sides and try to inflict as much damage as possible. No matter what happens, this should be a very entertaining fight, so let's get right to it. Salad Tosser getting that drum spinner up to speed right now on the sides of Tilly EWE3 here. Just going to call them Tilly here. Now Salad Tosser right at the sides there, right where they want to be, landing some big hits with that drum spinner. They're knocking them into the corner here, right up against the rails, and off comes one of the side panels on Tilly. Now they are exposed on one side, and Salad Tosser looking to take advantage of that. They are causing big damage with that drum spinner already in this one, and we are a little over 30 seconds into this fight. Right at the sides again, just not letting them get out of the corner is Salad Tosser. This is big time points for them if this fight happens to go the full 3 minutes. Here comes Salad Tosser once again, landing a ton of big shots with that drum spinner, just not giving Tilly a chance to get that flipper underneath them. Here comes Salad Tosser once again, just chewing up the sides there. This is big time damage there, but now Salad Tosser, they're up in the air, Tilly's underneath them, and they land a flip. Salad Tosser, they can self-right to their own gyroscopic forces here, and luckily they were able to do so, but now they are pushing Tilly into the rails, doing some damage to that flipper here. Can they remove that flipper as well as easily as they were able to do with the side panels? And no, landing a big hit again is Salad Tosser. Tilly needs to get away from Salad Tosser, get some breathing room, and point that flipper towards him. Salad Tosser nearly takes Tilly out of the arena there. Impressive fight out of Salad Tosser so far. We are approaching the 1 minute mark, and Salad Tosser has got to be dominating on points here, as they are just not giving Tilly an inch here. Absolutely no mercy is being shown. Off comes the other side panel. Tilly is exposed on both sides now. Tilly's just got to get something going. They probably need to win by knockout here. Now, as they need a miracle if they are to come out on top in this fight. Now, as it's just been almost all Salad Tosser. If we've only seen really one moment from Tilly, and Salad Tosser was just right on them after that, just landing hit after hit with that spinner. Tilly needs a knockout here, as this fight is not going their way for them. And now more shots. They have them in the corner again as Salad Tosser, but are they stuck on the rails there? 20 seconds to go. Salad Tosser is just hanging back. Think they're waiting for a countdown here, and they have one. Tilly's got to get free and fast, as 5 seconds left on their countdown. It's looking like Salad Tosser is going to win by knockout here, with 6 seconds left on the clock. What a lot of action we saw here. It is very early in the fight. Salad Tosser claimed one of the side panels, and yeah, literally less than 30 seconds into the fight that happened. This was really the only opportunity Tilly had in this one. Managed to get a flip there, but it is very possible for Salad Tosser to self-right and get right back on the attack in this one, which they were able to successfully do. Now, as we saw them nearly take Tilly out of the arena and soon claim their other side panel, leaving them completely exposed on both sides. But Tilly did hold up very well in this fight for taking a bajillion hits from that drum spinner. And then it was this point right here where Salad Tosser finished them off and was able to win it by knockout after getting them stuck on the rails there. Impressive fight here. What a fight that was. Finally, we have our main event, which is in the DSL class. We have two returners who surprised the competition. I cannot believe the selection committee here managed to pair these two up for their opening round matchups. On one side, we have Mo, who surprised everybody by making the top 8 last season through the use of that horizontal spinner. That spinner has a lot of power to it, as we saw a lot of destruction out of it last season, and I bet we could be seeing more of that this season. They did happen to fix their stability issues that we were seeing last season, so they are a lot more stable this year than they were last year. But of course, their big issue is still those exposed wheels, as we saw a few teams manage to get to those last season, including the team that finished them off last year. But still, Mo is going to be a major threat this season, and I bet we could see some big things out of them. On the other side, we have Thermidor 2, who also provided us with quite a few surprises, as they didn't win in their heat final against Hypershock and then got destroyed by Tombstone in their wildcard rumble. But Thermidor 2 is another one that will not go down easy. That is a flipper for their weapon, and that flipper has a lot of power to it, as we saw them get a lot of flips and on Hypershock, Free Shipping, Yeti, Monsoon as well, and they managed to get some wins through it. But of course, those claws up front are very delicate, their wheels are very much exposed. I imagine Mo, their opponent, will be targeting those. This should be a very exciting main event. I am looking forward to it, but before we get to the fight, let's see some highlights from last season from not one of these two contenders, but both of them. First up, we have Mo, who surprised the competition last season with that horizontal spinner, managed to cause a major amount of destruction and chaos and pull off a few upsets that put them into the heat final. We saw them take out many elite Battlebots in here, prove that they have what it takes to win the whole thing. Mo is definitely back and going to come out firing in this one, like what we saw last season. We saw them just annihilate Sawblaze in their first semifinal matchup, but Black Dragon was the one who showed them who's boss in their second semifinal fight. On the other side, we have Thermidor 2, who pulled off surprises of their own, managing to pull off a few upsets, taking out some of the top teams in their heats that managed to get them all the way to the heat final. But things did not go their way following those first few fights, as they lost in a close one against Hypershock, and then they went over to their wildcard rumble against Tombstone and Monsoon, and things didn't go their way either. Still, Thermidor 2 is back, and they are not one to underestimate here. Now let's get to tonight's main event. Here we go. Here comes Thermidor 2 racing right out of the gate and getting Mo off balance here. Mo definitely looking a lot more stable than they were last season here. Definitely showing signs of improvement with that. But now here comes Thermidor 2 landing a flip right on Mo right off the bat here, and landing another flip. And another one. Thermidor 2 holding up very well to Mo so far, landing some major flips there. Judges like to see action with the primary weapon, and Thermidor 2 is using that quite a bit here. I see a little smoke coming out of Mo here. That can't be good, but I see a piece of Thermidor 2 coming off, and another big piece. One of those claws has been removed almost completely there, and another one is taking some severe damage. Mo is starting to get some damage in with that spinner. Thermidor 2 has got to be careful now. Now as Mo is starting to do some serious damage here. Now as Thermidor 2 is still charging at Mo, trying to get that flipper underneath him, lands a flip, but taking another piece out of them as Mo. This is not what Thermidor 2 wants here. Now as Mo is starting to kick in some serious damage here, taking off another part of Thermidor 2. Those two claws are both, looks like completely gone now, and off comes a wheel. Thermidor 2 now only has drive on one side, and it looks like parts of their flipper has come off too. That can't be good here. This is not going to look good for them. I cannot watch this here as Mo is starting to take Thermidor 2 apart piece by piece. Thermidor 2 trying to get that flipper, but they lost the face of their flipper. Thermidor 2 without a wheel and without a weapon, they lost their other wheel too. Mo has knocked off all the ways that Thermidor 2 can move here. And now Thermidor 2, they can't move here, but Mo is just continuing to attack them. They're showing no mercy here. I just can't watch this here. As Thermidor 2 just being destroyed in this one. Their parts are all over the arena, and there goes their back piece of armor. Thermidor 2 is in some serious trouble here. They are going to leave this arena in multiple bin bags, multiple trash bags, and their control board's in trouble. Their control board falls, and this main event is over. Wow, I could not watch this one here. It was looking good for Thermidor 2 early in this one. They managed to land some major flips on Mo, but they needed to try and get them out of the arena or down the pit as quick as possible because this happened. We saw Mo at this point start to do some damage here, knock off big pieces of those claws here, leaving Thermidor 2 with their weapon and their exposed wheels. We saw Thermidor 2 lose their first wheel. And it wasn't long after that before some more hits from that horizontal spinner that knocked off the face of Thermidor 2. We saw their pieces just lying all over the arena in this one. This has got to be one of the most destructive victories so far this season. As we see them soon get we see Mo soon get the other wheel here. And then that was it. Thermidor 2 was immobile, but Mo just kept attacking them anyway until they finished off the control board. What a main event we just saw. What a fight card. We saw a lot of great fights in this one, definitely some of the best ones so far. We saw several newcomers and returners claim their spot in the next round, and while not all of them came out on top, some of them could very likely have wild cards coming their way. As for the stars of the night, Ice Wave and Wheelie Big Cheese both had some very impressive victories in their fights today. Gabriel, they may not have won their fight, but I think after their terrific performance during their fight against Tornado, they are in the best place out of the many whom didn't win their opening round fight to receive a wild card. TR2 and Salad Tosser both had spectacular debuts tonight, as those two proved that they will not go down easy. However, the big one to watch after this episode has to be our main event winner, Mo, who probably had the single most destructive victory of the season so far. The rest of their class has got to be scared of them after seeing what they were able to do in their fight. There are 2 episodes left in the opening round. 50 competitors have yet to make their debut. There's a lot of action coming in those last 2 episodes, and I am looking forward to all of it. I will see you next time.